Hi, it's Matt here. It's the 21st of October 2014. I'm wanting to talk to you about some new changes coming to Lamplight that are going to improve the security of your logins. This is the movie of the blog post, which you can hopefully see on the screen at the moment. I'm just going to talk about three things and show you what they look like actually in Lamplight. There's two-factor authentication, there's login security policies, and then there's password policies. So I'm going to talk about each of those in brief. So we're logged into a system here in the system administration menu. Most of this applies to system administrators only, really, but the two-factor authentication, which we're going to look at first, will apply to everyone, and everyone should set up, basically. So in this section here, you've got this enable two-factor authentication. So two-factor authentication is adding a layer to the login process. So at the moment, you need to have something that you know, i.e. your password. The second factor that we're going to add here is something that you have, which is going to be your mobile phone. So the way it works is that Lamplight and your phone share a secret code, and then they can both use that secret code to generate a 6-digit number every 30 seconds, and it only works in that kind of brief period. So this is a bit like it's a lot like the little tokens you get often from banks to when you're doing online banking. So the first thing you need to do before you get to this is to install an application on your phone. Google have one, there's one for Microsoft phones, there's a version for iPhones, Android. There's some links on this page here and also on the blog post to help you find those. So I'm going to assume that you already have an authenticator app on your phone, and then you're going to click here, this regenerate the authentication secret. And you can see on this page, there's a lot of text explaining what's going on, and this is the thing that you need. So this code, you then type into your phone, and once you've done that, you'll be able to, your phone will generate this special 6-digit code that you require. Now, and I can show you a little bit what that looks like on, I've lost my screen, on here. So this is my phone with the Authenticator app on it, and you can see the little purple bar going across the top. It's got the code for, well, when I recorded it earlier, and every 30 seconds it's going to create, oh, there's my finger, it's going to create a new code. So when you're logging into Lamplight, you type in your username and password as normal, and then you'll be asked for a 6-digit code, and then you'll be into Lamplight. So that's two-factor authentication. We really strongly recommend that you enable this if you can, if it's practical, at all practical. It adds a lot of security to your login. It means that kind of password, people trying to guess your password, or who know your password, won't be able to get in without your phone, without this shared secret. So, as I say, if you can, please do. And it's not all or nothing. Each person each operator, each person logging in will need their own secret code, so they get their own secret code to put into their phone. So each person that's logging in will need to come in and set this up. So two-factor authentication, that's that. The second thing we've added is login security policies. So a login security policy restricts when and from where different members of staff may log in. And so you create these policies, and then you use a policy with the operator. So I'll show you that. So at the moment, we've got one here already set up that says you can only log in on Tuesdays. You can log in from any IP address, but you can only log in on Tuesday. And if we have a look at this, you can see how it works. So each day of the week, if you want Mondays, or midnight's a bit early there, let's say they only start at 9 AM. And so you choose the times, as I say, the days and the times that you want people to be able to log into the system. And you can also enter IP addresses. An IP address is the address of your computer on the network, and it usually looks like that sort of thing. 4 sets of digits separated by a full stop. If you type into a search engine, what's my IP address, then it'll probably tell you what that is. There is a word of caution here. If you don't have a fixed IP address for your network, your IP address will probably change every now and again because your internet provider will circulate them around, which means you may well end up locked out of Lamplight. So we would only suggest using the IP restrictions if you know that you have a static IP address and that you only want to connect from that IP address. If you're not sure, then you'll need to go and talk to your internet provider about that. But if you're not sure, it's best to leave this bit, certainly for now. But you don't have to have anything, and if you leave that blank, you can still use the dates and the times. So you could create as many of these policies as you want, so for different types of staff perhaps, and then once you've done that, you can go into your operators, and if you edit them, you'll see that we've got the login policies here. So the default is that they can log in whenever, but we can limit it to Tuesdays only if we want to. So yeah, I hope that makes sense. And then you'd save it. And if somebody tries to log in when they don't have permission, they'll get a sad face screen saying, I'm sorry, you can't log in now, come back another time. So that's another level of security that you can add to the system. And whether you want to use those and who you want to use them for will depend a lot on how you work and where you work from, things like that. The third thing I wanted to talk about is password policies. So at the moment, we're quite relaxed about the length and what your passwords should look like. But you can now take control of that. So if you set up a password policy here, you can choose what everyone's passwords need to look like. So a minimum length, so we can make passwords have to be longer, and you can see you may require different combinations of characters. We've also got a list of the most common passwords that have, and so you can make sure that your users' passwords don't include any common words, things like 1, 2, 3, 4 or password and stuff like that. And there's also how frequently passwords need to be changed here. So you can say every 60 days they'll have to change the password. And if you do that, or if you do force someone to change their password, when they log in, they'll get a screen saying, please enter your new password before they can log in fully to Lamplight. Now, if you are adding a password policy, it will only enforce it when they next come to change their password. So if you're going to say minimum password length is 15 characters, and everybody's got 8 character long passwords, they will only have to update them if you make them. And if you are doing something like that, the easiest way to make them is to set this number of days until the password has to be changed, because then as soon as they log in, they will have to update their password, and it will have to match these rules that you've set up. Our recommendation is have really long passwords. That's by far better than having short passwords with a capital letter in them. And really the best thing to do is have very long passwords, like 20 characters or more, and use a password manager to keep track of them. A password manager is a piece of software that stores all your passwords and encrypts them when you're not using them, so that you type in one master password and then you can get access to all your passwords. And that makes it a lot easier to use different passwords on different sites, because you never need to remember them. You just kind of copy and paste from the password manager into the thing that you're logging into, whether that's Lamplight or anything else that asks you for a password. because really one of the big problems about security online is reusing passwords. So a password manager makes it a lot easier to not reuse passwords. Now, I said all of this is the movie of the blog post. There's a few links actually in the blog post that give you more information about some of the things I've spoken about. There's some documents about password managers, about two-factor authentication. There's links to the apps for your two-factor authentication, and yeah, a slightly more well written explanation of what I've just told you about. So that's all I wanted to show you. These changes we're planning for the coming weekend, which is 25th, 26th of October. When you log in on Monday morning, you won't actually notice any changes. Your logins will still work and it will be all the same, unless and until you start using some of these things. So, as I say, Monday morning, you shouldn't notice any differences. Just to recap, two-factor authentication, you need an app on your phone. We really strongly recommend that you use it. Login security policies limit when and where your different members of staff can log in to Lamplight. May make sense, that's up to you. And password policies, you can decide how strong the passwords are that you use to log into Lamplight. We suggest very long passwords and a password manager. Check out the blog post, it's got some useful links, and give us a shout if you have any questions about any of that. Thanks very much.